Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way morning briefing. It is Friday, the 24th of October, and Tony, we've got smiles on our faces for the first time in a wee while in a morning briefing, which is absolutely brilliant to see. How are you doing this morning?
Who'd have thunk it? Long time no speak, Ryan. Long time no see. Yes, indeed. Yeah, listen, I think that's what we all wanted. That's a wee tonic, isn't it? We're all feeling better about ourselves, feeling better about the team because of the performance, which we'll get into. But, you know, have we turned a corner? Sunday will tell me, give me a better indication of that, you know what I mean? But decent performance. I thought Storm Grats were poor, but listen, you can only beat what's in front of you. And I think the chance creation was the big thing for Celtic last night, Ryan. And, the downside was getting a few players injured, but we'll talk about all of that and preview the Hearts game as we move along.
Yeah, first of all though, before we get started, I'd like to say a massive thank you to our sponsors and the sponsors of all the videos that we do at Simply Furniture. They are located in Hillington, Glasgow, and they are an independent brand dedicated to bringing luxury and contemporary style into homes across the UK. With over a decade of experience in furniture retail, they meticulously source only the finest pieces, curated for quality, comfort and timeless design. From elegant sofas to statement dining sets, their hand-picked collections offer exceptional value without ever compromising on style. Their dedicated team ensures that your furniture is delivered with care right to your doorstep. If you want to see the beauty up close, visit their stunning showroom and mention the Celtic Way for a special in-store discount. And all of their links are in the description below. Just before we get started, Tony, are you okay to maybe just move to the right just a little bit, just to align ourselves? Otherwise, that would just annoy that. Yes, that would just annoy me for the whole briefing. I think we're all good now. Yeah, I think we're fine. Last night. Doesn't feel like long ago since we last spoke, to be honest with you, Tony. Celtic 2, Sturm Graz 1, goals from Liam Scales and Benjamin Nygren eventually. I think he could have scored more than one. He should have probably scored more than one last night. How are you feeling about the game? A little over 12, 13 hours after full time. How are you feeling about how Celtic played and their prospects heading into the Hearts game and, of course, more European games to come?
I think it was, as I said, a great tonic and a bit of a fill-up for Celtic to, first and foremost, to win the game, get their Europa League campaign back on track, got to win your home games, Ryan, if you've got any designs on going far in the competition. So take that, step one. They badly needed a win, so it was a much deserved win, a morale-boosting win, and one in the Celtic way, coming from behind, a real night of high drama and emotion at Celtic Park, but played really well. And again, you caveat that with the standard of the opposition, but they reacted well to adversity, Ryan. That's what really impressed me about last night's team. They've been so easy to retreat into their shell, feel sorry for themselves, and think that the world's against them, and it wasn't going to happen. But they plugged away. And I think certain players deserve, huge amounts of credit for the way the team performed. Arne Engels being one of them, Liam Scales being another. Callum McGregor's second half was terrific. Kobe Donovan played well too when he came on for Alistair Johnson. Tynecastle flitted in and out. And even Balakwisha, when he came on, I liked his attitude as well, Ryan. So there was lots and lots to enthuse about and be positive about. Now, this is the biggest test of Celtic seasons coming up on Sunday against Hearts. We're missing key personnel. Fine, we deal with it. I think last night we talked about a launch pad, a platform. Has to galvanise everybody, Ryan. If they can't take confidence and a boost and a shot in the arm from that, we're never going to do it. So, but Sunday's the acid test. You're playing against a team who are top of the table on merit. They're flying high. They're scoring goals. Let's go and match them, Ryan.
Absolutely. I'm just going to bring up some of Brendan Rodgers' comments that we put out on our various socials last night. He was talking, I don't know if he's looking for a car sponsorship or a car dealership or whatever, but I think he's naming every single car under the sun. I'd never even heard of a Morris Minors before I had to Yeah, I've never ever heard that car
Wow.
make before, unfortunately. Tonight, we weren't quite the Ferrari. He's talking about last night, of course. But we're a Range Rover Sport, which, by the way, is a really good car. I'll take that. I'll go for that tonight. Hopefully, we have no more Morris Minors in the performance. Then he realised he was slagging off a brand. Not that they're a bad car, they're a fantastic car. I think we showed the level with determination tonight, and that's what I expect to see going forward. That was always going to be the case, Tony. If Celtic were to churn out a win last night, I think he was always going to go back to the Honda Civic comments. He always likes to have that natural cycle of getting from one point to another when it comes to one of these quotes, one of these box office quotes, and he's managed to turn the narrative into something quite humorous. And it sounded like, judging by the audio that I listened to, it was quite a humorous press conference in that regard. Everybody had a good laugh. So that was good to see from the manager, and good to see that he's in better spirits than what he was on Sunday.
I won't take any credit for this. It was on social media, Twitter, but somebody said after the Honda Civic and the Ferrari quotes it was glove box office Brendan Rodgers, which I thought was absolutely sensational. So he did it again last night, a bit of glove box office Brendan Rodgers. So whoever that was, I salute that and I applaud that because I think that's very, very clever. But yeah, he likes his analogies, doesn't he? He likes coming back to them. I've said before, the devil's in the detail, Ryan. You need to really switch on, open your ears, and listen to what he's saying. Because I mentioned the point on Sunday after the Dundee game. It was a barb aimed at the board, and it get turned round to something that more damaging towards the players. You heard Liam Scales' comments about it. He said it wasn't going to bother him, wasn't going to affect him, and I think last night's performance showed you that. And the very fact that Rodgers has referenced it again tells you that none of the players paid a blind bit of attention to it, and then he was having fun with it. So, yeah. And I also think as well it might have been some kind of reverse psychology, Ryan, to G the players up as well in a kind of a way. Whatever's happened, it's worked. Celtic have gone out and got a result last night, and now we want to see them do that consistently, Ryan. Green shoots of recovery, green and white shoots of recovery, call it what you like. But again, it's all premised on Sunday. Hearts at Tynecastle, a bear pit. It's going to be gladiatorial, actually, because it's going to be some game. The atmosphere will be rocking. It'll be, but do you know what? And I don't know how you feel about this, but I think that's when Celtic rise to the occasion. They've done it so often in the past. They've been over the course and distance. Hearts now have to cope with the pressure of leading from the front and the big carrot that they've got. Can you go 8 in front of Celtic? And it's a huge carrot for them to play for, but that's pressure, Ryan.
Yeah, and you're hoping that Celtic can use that pressure that's been placed on Hearts, quite rightly placed on Hearts, because they deserve to have that pressure bestowed on them due to the start to the season. They've been absolutely fantastic, and Derek McInnes and his players deserve all the credit in the world for being the most consistent team in the league. Good signings, good formation, and they've been churning out results. Not every result has been a massive, a massive win against the opposition. They've been churning out results as well, and that's what good teams do. Good teams don't only beat teams 3-4-0 every week, because that just isn't possible. Sometimes you have to churn out results, and McInnes' side have certainly done that, so they deserve all the credit in the world. Just before we get on and talk about Hearts and about individual players, I just want to touch on what Brendan Rodgers said about that performance last night being a shot in the arm. He said he thought that the performance was outstanding last night. As disappointed as we were at the weekend with the performance, I thought that was a really good level. We picked up 2 injuries early on, so that could have disrupted it. The 2 young guys who came on worked their socks off and contributed to the performance. We went behind to an absolutely brilliant goal, and I just thought that throughout the game we looked really creative and had lots of opportunities to score more goals. Everything that you want in a team, the tempo, speed, aggression, energy, everything was there against our good side. Really pleased. He then spoke individually about Arne Engels, who I thought deserved all the credit, and we'll talk about what Benjamin Nygren said about Arne Engels, because they were both waxing lyrical. They both used the same phrase when it came to his deliveries into the box, which will be a real shot in the arm to his Celtic season. Arne Engels, this is Brendan Rodgers speaking. Arne Engels, I thought, was outstanding in the game, coming back in, gave us that energy in that fight, and his set piece quality is really world class. The level and speed at which he delivers, overall, it was really pleasing. And then his teammate in the mix zone last night was talking about him. He said, perfect ball from Arne Engels, world-class set pieces from him. I'm not sure if this is something that's been spoke about in the dressing room. I don't know if this is maybe something that Brendan Rodgers made publicly clear in the dressing room after the game and Benjamin Nygren's just latching onto it. But that's two people coming up with the same phrase about a particular skill that Arne Engels has had. And for me, Tony, I'm just going to put it to you straight, if Celtic have somebody that is world-class in that department, then he's got to be playing at a game like Tynecastle.
I don't think there's any doubt he'll be playing at Tynecastle. You look at Arne Engels last night, he really did show urgency, didn't he? He attacked with speed, he attacked with flair. His delivery were on point. We know he's got that in his locker. These are all things that we have witnessed, the qualities that Arne Engels has in abundance. He's just not been consistent enough, Ryan. But last night, he played as if his career and his life was depending on it. And that's what you get when he's really switched on and he's focused. And he did a bit of dirty work as well, Ryan. He was getting steamed in. And I mentioned it to you last night. Tynecastle laid the ball off to him early, and he took the touch of a rusty player, didn't he? And he got the duffer out his system right early doors. And from then on, he was switched on. He was on point. He was focused. And I think he deserves the praise from the manager and Nygren. Nygren just had to put his head on the ball to score. But Nygren had about 4 or 5 chances with the head and didn't score. So, but he got his reward for his perseverance. But that one was just, all you had to do was just get direction on it, because the quality was on the cross in. And it's nothing that you don't know already about Arne Engels. He has that in abundance. World class thing, I can take or leave. I get why they're saying it. You know, the two of them, I can understand that. It's very hard to defend against that when he gets it right, and he has got a wicked delivery. I won't question the manager and Nygren's thoughts. You know, world class to me means something completely different, but I get what they're meaning.
What I would say, and I'm going to bring up this comment from Danny Boy as well, I'm not saying that Arne Engels is world class. I'm just saying what Brendan Rodgers and Benjamin Nygren have said about the player and his specific skill that they've perceived as being world class. There's still so much to go in the development of Engels, but performances like that will certainly help him on his way to becoming a bona fide Celtic striker. Or no, a Celtic midfielder, rather, not a Celtic striker. And Benjamin Nygren certainly won't be a Celtic striker anytime soon with some of the chances that he missed last night. But thankfully, and to his credit, as we made the point last night, he kept going. And there was a lot of people. I was checking, I was doing more of a social role last night, putting stuff on Facebook and the like, just seeing what people were saying about Benjamin Nygren. And a lot of people were calling for him to be taken off the pitch after about 55, 56 minutes. Thankfully, he was kept on the pitch, and by the time it was the 63rd, 64th minute, he scored what would be the winner on the night for Celtic. To his credit, and despite him infuriating fans and really annoying fans with what he was doing and doing the same things and running into that marker 3 or 4 times, always felt as if the same thing was happening. He ran into his marker rather than beating him. Playing out of position, may I add. And the quotes from his mix zone interview would suggest that he's not entirely happy playing on the right wing, but he got on with it and he was in the right place. Winner, and I think he deserves a lot of credit in that regard.
Yeah, listen, that he persevered, and he was in the right place at the right time to miss those chances. Celtic haven't been creating abundance of chances in any match. So to see him be in there, and he knows he has to sharpen up if those chances are presented to him moving forward. Celtic have to sharpen up, but again, we go back to it. A deadly striker buries them, Ryan. If you've got a striker worth their salt and who's in the positions that Nygren get into. So I don't want to labour the point, but that's on those upstairs that Celtic haven't got a number 9 worthy of the jersey at this minute in time. But, you know, last night for me represented, it was a different performance entirely, from what you've witnessed all season. They really went at it, especially the second half. I mean, they created opportunities in the first half as well. Johnny Kenny had one that was just, inches wide, moments after coming on. But Johnny Kenny again was a bit, the chances he passed up, some of them were golden opportunities as well. I'll cut him some slack, because he's not had an extended run in the team. But, a striker of repute would bury them, Ryan. We won the game, so we're in that fortunate position where we didn't rue them, and they haven't come back to bite us. I was pleased at the fact that they were creating a lot of opportunities, and I would like to think that that's what the manager will be saying to them. Listen, guys, if you do the same on Sunday, play the same way, create that number of opportunities, you have to be more clinical. It stands to reason, and because Hearts will be clinical when they get the chance. They have been. They've put teams to the sword this season. Granted, as well, you said that they've. I mentioned the point that they won the Hibs game in the most Celtic way possible, didn't they? With last minute. So they're a team that's fighting to the end and getting results, and they're riding the crest of a wave. So you need to match everything, Ryan, that Hearts are going to throw at you on Sunday. But that's what I'm saying. Had we not won last night, I'd be going into Tynecastle with more trepidation. I'm willing it on now because I think, okay, let's see what both sides are made of now. Let's see what the Celtic side are made of. Can they go to Tynecastle in their sternest test of the season and come out with a result? And how good are Hearts? I've seen them in flashes, been pretty impressed. But let's see how good you are. Let's see when the pressure is on against the champions. Can you cope with that? Because Celtic can cope. They're past masters at coping. And I think those players will be like that, right? They'll fancy it now. And if they do get a result, they'll certainly fancy Hampden too. But again, we'll talk about that nearer the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, just more on Benjamin Nygren's mix zone comments, which will be out on the site as soon as I can get them turned over. Been quite a quick turnaround this morning, getting back onto the site, etc., after a late night last night. So just bear with us ever so slightly on that. But I'll give you a little bit of a teaser or a taster when it comes to the comments that Benjamin Nygren made to the media that were in attendance. He was talking about the Hearts game on Sunday as well, and he was saying that he hasn't checked the table, to be honest. He said the same after that late winner against Motherwell. I don't know how much I believe that, to be honest. I'm sure they'll be clued up on what's going on and what's transpiring. I would actually, Ken, I don't know about you, Tony. I would want them to be checking the table to know how important that this upcoming game is. But I guess this is the answer that he's going for. I haven't checked the table, to be honest. The focus, you cannot stare too much at the table. It's a long season. We've had a difficult period, and we know when we turn it around and when we win the games, then nothing can stop us. It's a must-win, I would say personally. So it was a massive win today. That was in terms of the Sturm Graz game. But he was also kind of talking about Hearts being a must-win too. I just hope that this game is the turning point and that we will now coming out the traps flying and get a lot of wins. Every football game is difficult in its own way. It's difficult to play in Europe, but every game has its own difficult stuff. So every game you need to come out and perform. It's no easy game. We need to be alert. We need to be there from the start. And we also know if we put in a good performance, we will win. He's not short of confidence, Tony, Benjamin Nygren. And I think, the numbers, he's Celtic's top goal scorer this season. He's scoring goals for Celtic. People in the comments as well, and I'm going to bring up a comment somebody said about Nygren. Michael Kelly says, keep saying Nygren's going to be our best player. Now, what I would say about Nygren, and I'm going to bring you in a wee minute when it comes to the Swedish midfielder that kind of plays everywhere at the moment, he's scoring goals despite not playing that well. So naturally, you can still be quite excited about the player if he can actually put a good run of performances together. If he can add a performance level to the goal scoring output that he's got at the moment, then he can be a main player for Celtic if Celtic find his position, find out where he's best, and he acclimatises fully to what he's been asked to do. But despite missing 2 or 3 glorious chances last night, he still got the winner, and that's so important to recognise that. He was there when it mattered, and he scored the goal.
Yeah, and I'm never a believer when players say they don't read the critics, don't read the papers, and they don't look at the league table. I want the Celtic players to look at the league table and say, okay, that if they don't believe they are where they should be, then do something about it. Look at that league table and say you could go 8 behind Hearts before Halloween. That's unacceptable in terms of Celtic standards in any given season. So you've got an opportunity to reduce that to 2 and really put the pressure on. And that league table focuses the mind, Ryan. There is no alternative. Celtic, it is a must-win game. All games for Celtic are must-win, but this is taking on even more significance, increased significance. So I want the Celtic players to really go into battle on Sunday and say, right, roll the sleeves up and stuck in and dug in, because Hearts are going to do that. And I want them to, I hope that their quality shines through in the end, because Celtic do have quality players. Nygren is one of them. So it's it's pretty simple. You have to win a football match. You're going to have to win it, playing, just matching your opponent, because they're flying and they fancy their chances and they're talking themselves up. And I think you have to accept it. I think the whole of Scottish football would probably want to see Hearts win as well, because they're fed up of Celtic being at the top and dominating and winning and dominating the league title, etc., etc., etc. You've got a challenger here who's trying to claim your scalp and trying to claim your crown. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the region or the Edinburgh region of Leith, but I'm sure that they don't want Hearts to be winning on Sunday either. I'm sure rivalry comes into it as well. I don't think I know I have seen tweets from certain people saying that it would be such a refresher seeing Hearts win the game, maybe even from the Hibs side of things. I would need to double check to see if it was a Hibs supporter that put that out, but I can assure you that there won't be many fans that share that view when at Easter Road. It's rivalry at the end of the day, and I don't think they can think of anything worse than Hearts being title favourites. But that's just coming into rivalry.
Okay, out with Hibs and Celtic. I don't think anybody wants.
I think that's fair enough.
Most neutral. Those of a neutral persuasion would want Hearts
Absolutely.
to win on Sunday, and that stands to reason. That, and I get that, but again, I just think these are the games that flick Celtic players switches. They flick the manager switch as well, and I think they'll switch on and they'll be focused. And I think that's when Celtic are at their most dangerous. Last night was a wee kind of pre-theatre, Ryan. Sunday's the main course, and you have to be up for it and ready for it. And we'll be missing certain key players, and your squad's been tested. But I think these players now that came in last night, and guys like Arne Engels and Benjamin Nygren, and I mentioned Balakush at the start as well. I'm growing in confidence with them when they start to do things that you want. I feel that the manager can trust them, and I think the supporters are beginning to trust them as well.
So let's talk about those two areas, Tony, because we can pretty much assume or guarantee at this moment that both Kelechi Iheanacho and Alistair Johnston will play no part against Hearts at the weekend. I believe they're 2 hamstring injuries. There's also a slight doubt on Cameron Carter-Vickers, although Brendan Rodgers says that he was going to get that checked tomorrow. He was going to check out the player tomorrow ahead of the weekend's game. Might not be the worst thing, taking Cameron Carter-Vickers out of the firing line at the moment. I thought that he was, again, quite shaky last night, particularly in the first half. Thought he stabilised himself in the second half and really helped the team towards the win, but in the first half, shakiness and doubt crept into his game, and that I think that's been happening quite a few times this season. And I think that the worst thing that he can do is think about what he's doing on the park. It's not coming methodically to him. He's thinking about his next step, and that's his problem. But just on those 3 positions that I named, Tony, right back in place of Alistair Johnston, up front in place of Kelechi Iheanacho, and potentially at centre back, who plays if worst case scenario all three of them are unavailable for Tynecastle? Who steps in? Who steps up?
Well, if Cameron Carter-Vickers doesn't play, then you've got Dane Murray or Austin Trusty. You've been saying Austin Trusty can come in, can't you? So, you've got two guys that can come in. No bother there. Kobe Donovan comes in for Alistair Johnson, doesn't he?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Would agree.
Lovely assist for Liam Scales' goal last night. Big up to Liam Scales for that. It was a tidy finish, an accomplished finish. Any striker would have been proud of that. And up front, okay, there's your conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
You really do have a problem if Iheanacho's not there. You're hoping Maeda's fit. Be a late decision on him. But again, you saw what happened when you took a risk with Alistair Johnson last night. I just don't think you can afford to do that with somebody like Dyson Maeda. So do you go with a natural striker and Johnny Kenny? Just say, okay, here's your chance. Big stage, big opportunity, go and grab it. Do you bring in Shin Yamada from the cold? I wouldn't have thought so. But you were talking about speed last night, wasn't he? Talking about pace, you've got a lot talk about
Tony,
speed last night.
It's just another problem area now that's crept up on Celtic, unfortunately, and it's down to I think in part the amount of games in a quick period of time that Kelechi Iheanacho's had to play, and that's just the build-up that's caused this injury. From going from 0 to 100 and playing every single game for Celtic, starting most games, it has its wear and tear on a player that's been in and out of squads in recent years, and I think it's just caught up with him completely.
Yeah, but you do have options. You have Johnny Kenny, who did okay last night, but missed chances, and you're kind of judged on that. But the one he fashioned for himself when he shot wide, just quick coming on, I thought he was really unlucky. But a couple others you thought he could have buried. So it just depends on. That's all on the premise of Dyson Maeda, but I would be inclined not to risk Maeda. I have to say, if there's any doubt at all, I think it becomes a toss-up between Shin and Kenny, or after his attitude last night and the way he played, could Balakwisha play up front somewhere?
Now, he's ex-manager. He's manager that he worked under at, I believe, Standard Liège before he moved to Royal Antwerp, was talking about how the similarities between and I understand where these similarities, and I'm not comparing the two, but I understand in terms of the frame and the way that the two play, he can potentially play in the same way that Ousmane Dembele does for PSG, sort of a floater striker who pops up in the right areas. I've got to say, Tony, I was very impressed with him coming off the bench last night. For the first time, I saw his speed. I haven't seen that yet from Balakwisha, but I saw something last night when he got the ball with plenty of space to run into. I saw the Sturm Graz defender backing off him because he could sense danger, and he was a little bit not scared, but he was anticipating the fact that Balakwisha looked dangerous on the ball when he was dribbling, when he was doing his close dribbling. Could that be an option for Celtic? Potentially. There's been talk of Balakwisha playing as an attacking midfielder as well, though Celtic play within 2/8 and would be a little bit more of an onus on his defensive abilities. Though in saying that, there was a point last night where he ran back 35, 40 yards to make a tackle, which was absolutely brilliant to see. I just thought his attitude was spot on last night, and I'm hoping that can also be a launch pad for his Celtic career. He's had that moment against Motherwell. He had a good appearance last night. I want to see more from him. He's a player that intrigues me, and I know that there's something there from him. Similar with Engels, I know there's something there with him. I just hope that Brendan Rodgers can unlock it in the weeks and months ahead.
You know what? I think speed could be the key deciding factor on Sunday. Speed and pace and purpose. Celtic played with a lot of speed last night, especially the second half. There was a lot of purpose to their play, and that's why they created a lot of opportunities, because they got the ball forward quick. And Balakwisha might feature here for that factor alone, or he might take a gamble with Shin Yamada and just say, okay, I need you to use that pace that you've got. And, or you might just say, square peg, square hole, striker, Johnny Kenny. And I think Johnny Kenny last night needed a goal for his confidence levels, because he didn't do too much wrong, Ryan, but it was just that finish that was lacking, wasn't it? And if he got that, it would have capped off a decent performance from him. Because there are things that Johnny Kenny does, and you think, that's good. You look like a natural striker, but the finishing, the end product for me is just that bit missing.
His movement into position for chances is very, very good. Neil Lennon was talking about that last night. I watched the highlights again last night, and he was talking about how good his understanding of where to be. If he can brush up on his finishing, which Brendan Rodgers has spoke at length at, saying he's a really good finisher in training. He shows a lot in training. He's a natural finisher. If he can bring that to the first team, then Celtic might be onto something. I'm not prepared to write him off totally yet, and a few people in the comments are saying that maybe he isn't good enough, but I need to see more of a sample size before I make a judgment on the player. But his movement last night was good. It was just his finishing that let him down. But physically, he's there. He is. He's a man now. He's not a wee boy anymore. He's not a youth player coming into the side. He's built now. He's ready to go. If he can put everything together, then he's got all the ability, the attributes to be a decent striker for Celtic. But we need to see that consistency, and that's the most important thing. Consistency in front of goal. You've got to score goals for Celtic.
He ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't he? In terms of height, the frame, the stature, the movement.
He's quite speedy as well.
Yeah. So you're watching that last night and you're thinking, I know you mentioned Lennon, but just even watching it yourself, all that was missing from Johnny Kenny last night was that end product, the finish, a goal. The manager praised him by saying the two young boys that come on, meaning Colby Donovan and Johnny Kenny, was talking about. So he's clearly caught the eye of the manager. Now, does the manager say to him, right, Celtic's most important game of the second most important game of the season, the Champions League qualifiers were the most important games of the season. Does he let him loose and just say, Johnny, needs must, but I need you to be clinical, because it's all there. You just need to, the sum of the parts is there. You just need to get it into the hole and say to him, listen, I'm trusting you with this mission on Sunday. Don't let me down, type thing. Build him up, because I feel that a goal would just be what Johnny Kenny needs. I feel like he's going through one of those kind of Adam Reader spells, where he couldn't get a goal for love nor money, but some of the stuff he was doing was okay. And as I say, I didn't find too much fault with Johnny Kenny last night in terms of his display. What was missing for me was just that end product, Ryan, and that's, for a striker, that's what you're judged on. And you can get into all the great positions all you want, but if you miss chances, people are going to talk about that. A goalkeeper can make a million great saves, but if he throws one in the back of the net, that's all people talk about. It's the same with strikers. Your movement can be great. You can do this, you can do that, you can look the part. See, if you don't score, people are going to say, and I get that too, Big Dom. And again, Ali, that's what we're kind of discussing. That's the kind of both ends of the spectrum with Johnny Kenny, isn't it? That the movement's good. He looks a physical specimen, and he looks like he can cause problems. The end product, that's what you're judged on. And as a Celtic striker, it's an unforgiving environment. Adam Ida found that out to his cost, didn't he? Because he looked every inch of archetypal Celtic striker, and he's no longer there. I'd still persevere with Johnny Kenny. I think there's something that can be worked on, but in terms of bringing it to the table, if he gets the nod, he has to bring it to the table on Sunday.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just having a wee quick look at the Brendan Rodgers quotes to see if there's anything else worth talking about. Plenty of quotes about Hearts that we'll talk about in the coming hours, I would say, when they go on the site. Brendan Rodgers is talking about how they've got to show leadership now and leadership qualities. In my experience with players, when those types of players are under pressure, they progress. I think he's talking about the core group. You could see that from the weekend coming into this game, the pressure, but the progress in the team was so good individually and collectively. Whenever you have a setback, which we've had a number of, but in particular at the weekend, then those leaders show the motivation to go again. We've seen all of that tonight. It was a really pleasing performance, and I'm so happy for the likes of Benji because he had so many chances and he's playing out of position really, but he gets into the areas to get those opportunities and showed so much courage to keep going and eventually get his goal. He also went on to speak about the support and the fact that the support understood that the players needed them last night, and thankfully the support were there for them. And I made that point last night that even at half time there wasn't any boos because the support understood that Celtic were playing much better in the game. They just needed that little bit of a G up at half time and pointed out where they were going wrong and what they needed to do by the manager in order to make things better in the second half. And thankfully that was even though I thought that Sturm Graz actually started the second half better than Celtic then just caught them by surprise with that bang 1-2 goal, and from there and the red card, they just they controlled proceedings. I was actually speaking to a couple of people last night, and they were saying that they were quite nervous going into the last 20-25 minutes of the game. From where I was sitting at the football, there was no nerves. There was actually a bit of a confidence in there that due to the 10 men, due to the 2 goals that Celtic scored and the threat that Celtic were posing to Sturm Graz, there was a confidence that Celtic were going to win the game last night, and there was never that nervousness about Sturm Graz coming back into the game. Maybe there should have been, given the way Celtic have been playing at the moment, but the fans were there last night for the team, and that was great to see, and it's going to be important that they're there for this team going forward as well.
I think we said it last night. I felt that if Celtic scored one, they would go on to get 2 or 3. Sturm Graz stopped being a force in the match after they hit the post. Once that moment had gone, that was them. They were spent in the game. I thought Celtic totally bossed the second half. And yeah, agree with that, Glasgow boy. And it was a case of once Celtic broke them down. And when they did, 2 goals in 3 minutes says it all. Should have scored more. And that's your only gripe from last night. They didn't win 4 or 5-1. Because they should have. They created enough, carved out enough opportunities to do that. Nygren and Johnny Kenny themselves should have had more goals. So, but the way they've played all season, you can spin that as a positive as well, Ryan. They started to create chances, and that for me is progress. I think that's what the manager's talking about as well. You have the luxury of saying you won that game. You might not have that luxury on Sunday of saying that if you create a similar amount of opportunities and you don't take them. So if I'm Brendan Rodgers, you are saying we really need to start to be more clinical, and when we create scoring chances like we did last night, then they have to go. It's as simple as that, because you might not get a second opportunity or a third opportunity or a fourth opportunity like Nygren did last night and like Johnny Kenny did last night, 2 or 3 opportunities. You have to be clinical from the get-go, especially in a game like Sunday and the following weekend as well. So, but you have to celebrate the wins when they come. And the performance last night was a step forward, a step in the right direction, Ryan. I'm now looking for Celtic to take another massive step by going into Tynecastle on Sunday and winning. And also, if they could win with a bit of style, I'd be well chuffed. But I'd take a victory, any kind of victory at this moment in time, just to get it back to 2 points, and then the pressure's really on.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that you want to touch upon before we end the show? Anybody that we've missed out, maybe in terms of performances that have gone under the radar, potentially? Maybe the captain, who I thought was really good in the second half. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, if you have a chance to look back at that challenge, as my dogs go mental, they're upset about it as well. It was a shocker, an absolute shocker. And to Callum's credit,
it was a lazy challenge as well. Yeah, it was a really weird one. It was a lazy challenge.
He kind of tries to hurtle it, but he can't. and he gets caught really badly, and fair play to the referee. There was also a moment which I saw on social media on the sites. Callum McGregor at one point telling an intrusive cameraman where to go when Cameron Carter-Vickers was lying on the floor. I don't know if you've saw that or you've caught that. And the cameraman
I saw it
tries
at
to
full
get Cameron
time.
Carter-Vickers is lying on the floor, and he goes up and he tells him, "Come on, the guy's injured or he's in pain or he's in distress," and and I thought, you know what, just stuff like that. You say to yourself, well done, but his performance last night in the second half, especially, was outstanding. He drove the team forward, and him, Engels, and Hatate as well, for that matter, really upped their game in the second half. But McGregor in particular, so I have to say, big up to him. And every time you question him, he just comes back with something, doesn't he, Callum McGregor? He is the consummate pro, and long may that continue. He said himself he was very frank and open and honest about the team, his performance against Dundee. We're very easy to play against, but we need to have the stomach for the fight. They had it last night. Now it's a different challenge altogether, and I think they'll have it on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we finish off, I was working on this in the background there while you were speaking about Callum McGregor. I just wanted to bring up the league table, the Europa League table as it stands. Obviously Celtic aren't at the top, but I just thought I would bring up where they are currently. So Celtic are in 21st at the moment. They're in the playoff positions. They wouldn't get automatic qualification into the next round. They'd have to play a playoff in order to get into the next stage. But 4 points, -1 goal difference. Maybe that could have been a slight area of improvement last night if they would have scored a couple more. But it's looking a lot better than what it was previously. There's still a few teams that are on 0 points, a couple of teams on 1 point after 3 games, a couple of really decent teams on 1 point as well. Cervena Zvezda, Stuttgart as well. Sturm Graz are on 3 points. Salzburg are on 0 points as well, alongside Utrecht, one of the teams that Celtic will be facing. And the Europa League, and Rangers are on 0 points as well, so plenty of improvement for them needed. Tony, it looks a lot better than what it did 24 hours ago, that's for sure.
That's all we hoped for and asked for, Ryan. Again, all roads lead across the M8 on Sunday. Huge test for Celtic. But I think we're all going into that with a spring in our step, a smile on our face, and more with confidence and enthusiasm. And, there's talent there in that team, Ryan. There's a talented group of players. It's the managers had a problem drawing that out them. Drew it out them last night. So let's all jump in the Morris Minors, Ryan. Charge down the M8 and park somewhere in Edinburgh if you can, which is always a nightmare. But yeah, we shall see what happens. I might get you a Morris Minor miniature for your Christmas, Ryan. That's what I'll do. That's on my list.
Okay, so the Range Rover Sports out the window. Thank you very much, Tony. Thanks for ruining my Christmas, New Year, birthday, etc., whatever you want to call it. People are laughing at the table that I put up as well. There's nothing to laugh about at the table. Celtic are 21st. They still get so much more work to do. That's clearly why I put the table up, of course. But yeah, hopefully Celtic can improve and work on that in the weeks and months ahead and get through to the next stage of the Europa League. Let's win a knockout tie. Let's see if we can actually do that this year. It's something that I've not visually seen in my many years of watching Celtic. So it's something that I want to see. That's got to be the aim. Bit of a longer show this morning because we had plenty to discuss. But thank you to each and every one of you for joining us. Just a quick shout out, if you want to subscribe to the channel, it's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We're still running our £1 for 6 months offer. There'll be plenty of content over the weekend ahead of the Hearts game. There'll be post-match comments that have been embargoed that will be coming out later on from several different players over the coming days, as well as an analysis piece ahead of the game against Hearts. A quick look into set pieces by Alan Morrison, so that'll be something to look out for. That'll be going out on Saturday morning, so keep your eyes peeled on that. Give us a subscribe on YouTube if you can. It's completely free and you'll be notified when we go live. We'll be back on at the weekend, Tony and I, to discuss Celtic versus Hearts when Tony is in situ at Tynecastle. Tony, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Pleasure as always.
And thank you to each and every one of you for joining us. We really do appreciate it. We'll see you all on Sunday morning when we will preview Hearts versus Celtic. Until then, enjoy your weekend and have a very good Friday. Cheers, guys.